Dreams and distractions.
Some of his publishers kept wanting to give me
Okay.
Okay, welcome everyone to Mega Life 21 Live. I'm your host, James P. Madonna. I'm with my co-host, the one and only Damien. And we are doing a show based on a new Facebook page called New Age Mysticism and Healing. And it's off to a fantastic start. I'm surprised the scrolling. Let me see if the scrolling marquee is working properly. Oh, it only does one. Oh, it's okay. It's limited. You can only do one thing at a time. Anyway, there's the link for you listeners out there. I have to finish this. I'm drinking Mad Elf, a ruby red Belgian ale, 11% alcohol by volume. It's only made this time of year, and it has all different kinds of holiday flavoring. And he has a demented look, which is very applicable to this show. And we have very applicable. We have a very interesting show here because it is about mysticism, and it's deep. Don't underestimate the content of this show because we're smiling, laughing, and occasionally joking around. This is deep. Let me just take a swig of this because I've been a little busy today. And Damien, how are you this evening?
Well, just got off work, and let's just say Wednesday and Thursday were decent days, but yesterday and today were, well, terrible because I do sales for LifeLock. You've probably heard of LifeLock. It's the identity theft protection that's now paired with Norton, so you can get the protection for identity theft as well as your devices. And yeah, I just got a bunch of fucking terrible calls today. If you really want to know just how dumb the public really can be, work for LifeLock.
Ronnie S. Welcome, Ronnie S. I just want to acknowledge Ronnie S. Go ahead.
So yeah, if you really want to know just how dumb the public really can be, work for LifeLock, especially when you get a bunch of these know-it-alls who want to think they know anything and everything about identity theft. I mean, granted, I'm no expert. I don't know anything and everything, but I do know quite a bit just by virtue of working for LifeLock. But
when you deal with the general public, which I used to do, and I used to come home with pains in my stomach and from aggravation, you eventually fantasize about all the evil things you want to do to your retail supervisors, to some of your customers. But I do have to admit, I made a lot of great new friends dealing with the public. So they're not all bad, but it's not easy. It's very stressful. And I want to show you something. Besides the copper divining rods are here, I brought out my 7 chakra argon energy pyramid with the copper coil inside, and it has all different types of crystals in there, semi-precious stones, and it's fascinating. I had it for many years, and I just want to show everyone out there in cyberspace that is watching the pyramid. Now, I am going to start, well, besides playing my African djembe drum, I'm going to start by saying that we're going to talk about the tarot. Well, Damien is going to describe in depth
Yeah, I've
Well,
got my Universal Rider Weight deck here, and as you can tell, the box is really falling apart because I've had it for quite a few years now.
yeah. Well, I of course, my box is like shredded wheat from the ancient tarot deck of Marseille, France, but the cards are in great condition, and I'm going to try my best to keep it that way.
Oh yeah, the Marseille is always a classic. In fact, that's what got tarot popularized in the 18th as well as 19th century among intellectuals, the elite, and there was always that little bit of a fascination with the occult.
Well,
And it comes from a whole reservoir of sources.
well, I was first attracted to the colors of the tarot deck of Marseille. It's very colorful, very vivid. I think the Rider Waite might have started in England.
It's the one that people know. It's the one that whenever you talk about the tarot and you want to begin reading, and when you receive readings, it's kind of like the universal go-to because any tarot reader has at least had some kind of divings, dabblings, what have you, with the Rider Waite tarot.
Right, okay. Well, I was first of all, this is very rare that I am home on a Saturday evening. I usually go out, but I am home, and I was looking through my book, my tarot card book. And there is a couple of methods that I found of interest. Now, for yes or no questions, this is one of the primary ways to do yes or no with the tarot. You concentrate on the question as you shuffle it. You cut the deck in 3 piles, going from right to left, and then you take each pile and you turn 1 card at a time over onto the table or the bed or whatever until you see an ace. You never go beyond 13 cards. You got 1, 2, 3, and you stop when you see an ace. If you don't see an ace, you stop at 13. Then you do the same with the second deck and the third deck. And according to aces showing up, okay, the aces will determine the answer to your question based on what the aces, which aces show up and what they represent in definition.
Right.
Now, like in other words, if 3 aces show up, that's a real good sign that your answer is definitely yes. But but which ace shows up also determines the conditions to your question.
Right.
2 aces means most likely it's a yes. 1 ace, it's debatable. If there's no aces, then the information is not available at the moment to answer the question. But that's one method. Another method called the Hungarian method was that you shuffle, you split it in 3 piles, and then you take the top card, you turn it over, and you place it above the pile, and the whole pile turns over too. So what you have is, I believe, 3. You have 3 rows. Of, 3 rows of, I think, 2 cards each. But I don't want to confuse people with too many methods. There's the Celtic method.
Yeah, I know that one.
Yeah. The Celtic is standard. You know, with the cross, whatever. It's
the Celtic cross.
But if you put 10 cards any way you want, isn't it pretty much the same reading, the same interpretation?
Well, I have a method that's kind of like the Celtic cross, but can you do a reading for me, please? Are you asking that for me or for James?
Well, I my deck is over there in buried in a pile of something. I have the divining rods, and if you have a question that's based on yes and no, I can do that later on for you.
Okay.
After Damien talks more about the tarot.
I can definitely try. I mean, I can definitely do a reading. I don't really do a whole lot of readings for other people. I mostly do readings for myself, which I know they say you're not supposed to, but I did the way I learned was just doing readings for myself. And then I just kind of branched out from there.
Yeah, because you're shuffling the deck with your own hand.
Mm-hmm.
My mother got me into mysticism because she was very heavily involved in it, and she would consult with certain psychic friends that were
Mm-hmm.
real friends over the phone, and they would shuffle the cards, and they were able to do readings remotely
Mm-hmm.
on location from wherever they were.
Right, right.
It is possible to do it, but I think the person has to give some detail to the nature of what they want to find out. In other words, I mean, because you have to concentrate on, let's say, Mr. Cole Thompson has an issue in his life.
Right.
He would have to give you some heads up so that mental image will be in your mind as you're shuffling the tarot.
Well, not necessarily. Regardless of how vague or specific the question is, the cards are going to bring it out. Now, all of the details may not be abundantly clear at that moment, but as time progresses, and you start talking about what the cards mean and you tie it into what the issue is, eventually it all comes out to light at some point or another.
Okay.
May not happen like right away, but there's been times where I've done readings and because I take pictures of all the readings I do. So I could say, if I ever want to draw back to, okay, well, didn't I have a reading about this? I can just go through my phone, start to be like, oh, yeah, that's the reading. And then I'll go back and I'll reinterpret it like days later. It's like, oh, so that's what it means.
Okay.
So if it's not abundantly clear at that moment, eventually it all does become clear. I think the longest that I've ever had to go before it actually became clear on one reading was like 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it is kind of a aptitude and an art, but it's one that anybody can learn because it's all about understanding the pictures, interpreting the pictures, reading them, looking at the colors, the symbology, because it's not necessarily that you're tying into your psychic ability. I mean, yes, you do use your third eye a great extent, but it's not some kind of, external or extraterrestrial or some divine, angelic, or demonic entity or power that does it. It's something you all have within you. I mean, granted, any aptitude takes trial, error, and practice, but anybody can do it. Anybody can learn how to read it. Some will be better than others, yes, but anybody can learn how to do it.
Okay.
Now, let's go ahead and get some myths out of the way. Okay, so first of all, as I've said, they're not angelic, they're not demonic. So you're not going to attract angels or demons into your house just by having a deck of cards. That's stupid. It would be like the same thing as saying you're going to attract gambling demons just because you have a deck of cards in your home in case you want to maybe casually play blackjack or poker. That doesn't make any sense. And in fact, the Marseille deck is what really got tarot started, because let's start with what the tarot means, and it actually shows it on one of the tarot cards. I'll pull it out here out of the deck, and then we'll get into the Fool's Journey here before too long. If you look here on the Wheel of Fortune card, notice how it says Ro-Ta.
Yes.
Okay, that is where the origin of the tarot word comes from. Ro-Ta, meaning wheel of time, time wheel, however you want to say it. But before it took on this meaning with this artwork known as the Rider-Waite deck, it started with the Tarot Marseille deck. It originally was just a deck of playing cards that, people thought was just, for gambling or for playing blackjack, something like that. That's how it kind of got started. But where the two decks eventually came together was there was something similar to the Marseille deck during the Renaissance era. But before then, there were hand-painted decks that first started appearing in Central Europe, preferably around the Taro River, which is where some people think the origin of tarot came from, was the Taro River in northern Italy, where the first cards were found. They had been around before the Renaissance. They were discovered in the medieval period. They discovered the first hand-painted deck. The first hand-painted deck from Europe is where the major arcana comes from.
Okay.
Now, the minor arcana came from the East, particularly from India, because if you look at some of the older cards, they have various incarnations of Vishnu, one of the Hindu gods. But they also have a few other various Hindu gods. But it also does come from a little bit of Buddhist, Shinto, a little bit of Hindu, and then there's also Islamic, Christianic, Judaic. There's even all the way up to modern day religious influences in the tarot. So it does come from a universal reservoir. So that's how we were able to see what the tarot deck ultimately became to today. So now you can still use the Tarot Marseille deck. It's always a classic, but everyone knows the Rider-Waite. It's the easiest to interpret. Everybody knows what it is. And I've always stuck with it. Yes, I've got other decks I use. I particularly use my Gilded Tarot, which I'll show that in a later video, but just for the purposes to where people know what I'm talking about, and if they want to try it themselves, they don't have to go out of their way to find this. I mean, anywhere that sells tarot and tarot stuff, you can find it anywhere. I got this at Books A Million when I was 16 years old. Back in, I want to say it was January 2011 is when I got this deck.
Okay.
So yeah, anywhere you want to go. I do think Books A Million has a much better selection, but you can go to Barnes and Noble or just about any bookstore. I mean, Amazon definitely has it, but some people will buy tarot decks because they think they look cool. I mean, yeah, it's cool to kind of have in your collection and say, oh, cool, look and see what I got. Because I have one that's the Mayan 2012 Apocalyptic deck, which is no longer made. So it's a collector's item. And yes, it's a very beautiful tarot, but I couldn't connect with it. You have to have a certain connection to your deck, and you have to understand the artwork, because some people, the Rider-Waite just clicks. Some people, they kind of struggle through, but they know what it is. But it's always a great starting point. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's go ahead and dive into what the first deck of the tarot encompasses, called the Major Arcana, Arcana, however you want to call it. Tomato, tomato, potato, potato, same thing.
Right.
All right. So the first deck is comprised of 22 cards. And these are what came from the West in Europe. And these were part of the first hand-painted cards that were first discovered. Now, the Major Arcana was banned from practice in Europe because it challenged the medieval church and its authority. So anytime these were seen by any religious officials, they were burned right then and there, because they viewed this as the devil's book. And it didn't come from God. They always thought it came from the devil. So the fact that we even have a Major Arcana deck today is still pretty miraculous. So let's just go ahead and dive into the Major Arcana deck. So the bottom card here is where we'll complete the Fool's Journey. So we'll start with the first card. It is labeled number 0, which is known as the Fool. So
La Mat. Usually, well, I mean, the French cards would be La Mat. The Fool.
Okay, so the Fool. Very interesting imagery and artwork with the Fool card. So there's a very interesting reason as to why his number is 0. So the Fool is not necessarily an idiot in the modern sense, although there are quite a few fools and idiots out there. But for the purposes of the Fool's Journey, it's a beginning of a new cycle. It doesn't have an end. It's an always new beginning and always constantly going cycle. So it is someone who is fresh, new, wanting to start something, but they don't really know where to start on something, but they're beginning their journey. And it becomes abundantly clear as to what this means is, you've got the Fool. He's pretty careless, young, naive, and he's near a cliff. And this cliff is showing he's getting ready to fall to imminent danger and possibly his death. but the wolf is trying to pull him back, to bring him back to his senses, to complete his journey the right way. And then you'll also notice there are 12 circles on the fool's upper attire. I'm not exactly sure what you would call this shirt, but it's for the 12 different zodiacs. And you'll notice there's quite a few different colors associated with the fool's card. So, beginning, getting something going, starting your journey. Now we move on to the magician, number 1. So whenever you start off on your quest or journey or whatever it is that you're wanting to do in life, when this magician pops up, this is when you're gathering your resources together, whether it be emotions, desires, wants, possessions. This is your guy. Although he is represented as mature, masculine energy, he can also take on a feminine role as well. So you'll notice he's got an infinity sign above his head, which means infinite potential. As long as you set out your mind to do something, you can do it. And you'll also notice we have the 4 suits on this card as well. We've got the Pentacles, which is represented by Earth. We've got the Cup, represented by water. We've got the Wands, represented by fire. And then we've got the Swords, represented by air. So we've got possessions, emotions, desires, and action. So anytime this pops up, gather your resources together to begin. All right, now we move on to the High Priestess. She is also represented as mature feminine energy. You'll notice she's got balance and justice, black and white. She is the one that will bring balance and stability to what it is that you're about ready to do. Again, mature feminine energy, a lot like the magician. Instead of gathering your resources, she makes sure that everything is all in balance and in check. So now we move on to the Empress. She is also represented by mature feminine energy. Anytime the Empress comes up, this is a time to seek someone in your life who represents either your mother or a motherly figure, whether it's a mom, a grandma, great-grandma, or an elderly wise woman. That's usually what this would represent. Now, depending upon how she comes up in a spread or in a reading, this could also indicate birth, meaning pregnancy, a new child coming into this world, depending upon what happens. But most of the time, consult someone in your life who is a motherly figure, whether she is your mother or she's been a mother figure in your life. Okay, now we move on to the Emperor. So the Emperor is also mature masculine energy. He is the one that will help you get things in check along with the Empress, but he will do it in a much more fatherly manner as compared to where the Empress will be doing it in a much more motherly way. So this is where you would consult someone who is like a father or a father figure in your life. So he'll be the one that'll be your reason and logic, where the Empress will be your creativity. But he will give you much more of a sense of security through reason and logic, whereas your sense of security would come through the mothering and nurturing of the Empress. All right, so now we move on to the Hierophant, or some people will call it the Hierophant. So this is, the Hierophant, however you want to call it.
Whatever.
Yeah. So anytime this card comes into a reading, this is when you're going to be learning something. This is when you take your first steps after learning. So once you've gone through the Fool, the Magician, the High Priestess, the Emperor, and the Empress, now you're ready to start your journey to where you really need to go. This is where you learn the structure, the norms, and what needs to be done in terms of getting done what needs to be done and how to do it. That's primarily what the card means, but depending upon when it comes up in a reading, it could be learning religious norms, political norms, societal norms, or just the norms of whatever it is that you're trying to set out on your journey on. So next we move on to the lovers. So yes, there is nudity on this card. I'm sorry, I didn't create the artwork, but this is the lovers. So this is when you start building your relationships in life. So whether it be with friends, external family, like someone that is not a part of your family, but you would consider your family, or even finding your significant other, your other half, your soulmate. That's usually what that means whenever it comes up in a reading, but it's all about establishing relationships in all the different aspects of your life. So now we move on to the Chariot. This is the time for deciding which path you're going to be taking. Now that you've gotten your resources, your relationships, your norms all established, now we got to see which path are we going to take. So anytime the Chariot comes up, it's time to make a decision. But you have to be careful as to where your decision goes, because you may either be stuck here at the Chariot, or you'll be coming back to it, or you'll progress through the major arcana. Anything can really happen. This is a pivotal card in a reading. So now that we've gotten our path chosen to see exactly where we are going to be going, now we're going to be going to strength. This is where we're going to be gathering our willpower. As you can see here, she's got the infinity sign above her head, and then she is taming a lion, meaning whatever we set our minds out to do, we can do. All it just takes is the right mentality and the right willpower. So now we've set out, we've learned a few things. Now we got to fine-tune what it is exactly that we're going to be doing. Next, we come to the Hermit. So you'll notice he's a very hermetic, elderly gentleman. So he's usually the scholar, the recluse, that will set you on the path you need to be set on. But at this point, this is when you take a step back, take a pause, see where we're going, see if it's the right way, see if we need to backtrack, or if we need to go forward. He will help set you on the right path and get things fine-tuned. All right, so now that we've gone past the Hermit, it's now time to take a chance with the Wheel of Fortune. So life is always about taking chances and risks. There's always different kinds of risks versus yield. So there's low risk, low yield, high risk, high yield, etc., etc. So anytime it's time to take a chance to see, is this going to work? Is this not going to work? But at this point, it's not too far along to where if you have made a mistake, you can easily backtrack and go back through the major arcana, back to the previous cards, to go back to the drawing board to see if what you're doing is right, if what you're doing is wrong. But if you do make a mistake, this will show you if you're making a mistake, if you're not, by virtue of taking a chance. So now we've gone through the first 10. Depending upon what cards show up from the minor arcana, we can get a better idea as to whether we're going to progress through the other cards, or if it's time to stop, go back, or just kind of just stop and see if we really need to go forward at this time, or just take a pause from what we've already learned and we just take a little break. So next, we go on to the next card, which is Justice. So now we're getting into more of the nitty-grittiness of actions. Anytime justice comes up, this is when you have done something and what needs to happen is going to happen. There's going to be a resolution of some sort. Most of the time, it's of a legal resolution just by virtue of it being the justice card, but it's not always necessarily of legal matters. It can be anything. It could be of relationships, jobs, monetary wealth, what have you. But if this pops up, you're definitely on the right track, and let's keep going. All right. So now we've done a few things right, but now we're going to have to learn something new. This is also another pivotal point, and sometimes we can get stuck on this card as well, the Hangman. So this one is very heavily influenced by Norse mythology, where Odin hung from the tree upside down in order to gain knowledge. That's where a lot of the influences of this card comes from. So when this card comes up, it's time to stop one more time and also look at things from a different perspective, to try to be more open-minded rather than just doing things one set way. If you become a little too set in your ways and it's not progressing the way that you should, and this keeps popping up, take a step back and see if there's anything else that we need to try differently, because obviously what is happening is not working. All right. Now, people get really freaked out whenever this card comes up into a reading. Now, it does not mean what this card has on the face in the 100% literal sense. It's symbolic. Remember, everything with the tarot is all symbolic. Anytime this card comes up, people think, oh my God, someone is going to die, or there is going to be death. It is death in a sense, but it's not death as in someone died either in their sleep, or they died of a heart attack, or they died of something horrible and anything like that. But no, this is a symbolic death, meaning you have changed in a sense, meaning something in you that was no longer useful has died, and this is being shown by this, because as you can see, the white horse pestilence trampling over something that was once no longer useful. But as you can see, it shows that there's definitely a new horizon on the way just by the sun being over in here. But as you can also tell, it can also be a great change, or it can also be a bad change. But anytime this pops up, an old part of you has died and a new part has come to light, whether it's for good or for bad, depending upon what shows up with the minor arcana that pairs with the card. We'll see. Okay, so next, after the symbolic change, we come to yet another pause, temperance. So with temperance, whenever this shows up, it's now time to restore balance. So if you have been doing things a little off kilter, or anything needs to be brought back in check, this card will show it. Okay, now this is also paired with the death card, but this is a complementor to the death card. But people always think that when this card shows up, there are satanic forces at play, when in reality, it's not. The devil card. So the devil card is a very interesting card of the major arcana. So whenever the devil card shows up, it shows whether you really have changed through the death card, or if there is still something holding you back. But as you can see, even though they are chained to the pedestal, you'll notice their chains around their neck are not 100% binding and constricting, meaning they can still break free. It's all just a matter of, are you going to make that change it really needs to be? Or are you going to just stay in your ways and keep being toxic, unuseful, and engaging in activities that are no longer useful? So if this card keeps popping up in a reading, you're stuck. You need to make the changes that need to be done. Otherwise, you're just going to stay here. All right, so if that wasn't bad enough, next we move on to the next card, the Tower. So anytime the Tower pops up, it's sudden, shocking change. This could be good, or this can be bad. Now, I know on the picture it looks bad, but depending upon where this falls in a reading and where the minor arcanas, or if there's even another major arcana that complements this card, this could take on several different meanings. It could take on a very drastic, sudden change for the best, or it could take on a very sudden, drastic change for the worst. So after the sudden shock of the tower, next we move on to the star. At this point, the Fool has had quite a few trials and tribulations. So now that's another time to pause and reflect and wish upon a star, as the name actually implies. So as you can tell, he's restoring balance, but still at the same time wanting to maintain his wishes, his desires. If this pops up in a reading, it means you've come a long way, keep going, don't give up, always look forward. And if you notice what the star looks like, it shares a lot of resemblance to the Northern Star, which was very prominent in Norse mythology, and how they were able to navigate. They'd always look through the northern, or they'd always look for the Northern Star. So if that shows up, keep going, you're on the right path. Time will tell. So when the moon shows up after the star, anytime this shows up, things may not always appear as how they seem. So if this card were to pop up, that means there is trickery, deception, and there's not a lot of clarity. But although there's not a lot of clarity, possible trickery, and deception, it will all come to light eventually. So this is another time to keep on the path that you're going, but focus more on the finer details. See what's clear, what's not clear, because if there is any trickery or deception, it will show up in the next card. Or if there's not any clarity at this time, then there will be clarity, because all does come to light eventually with the sun. When the sun pops up, the Fool is nearing the end of his journey. Now at this moment there is clarity, and any deception, trickery, all that has come to light. So when this pops up, it's like the Justice card, a resolution, but in a much bigger, broader sense. So now we are almost through. We're at the next to the last card, Judgment. Anytime Judgment shows up in a reading, this is your trials and tribulations. This is when you take your last pause and reflect moment. See where you made mistakes, see where you did things right, pause, reflect, but do not dwell. Because if you keep dwelling, you will stay here. You will not progress on to the next card, which would be very sad and tragic, because now we come to the end of the Fool's journey, the World. This is the last card of the major arcana.
Yes, Lamont, the World.
So when we get to this card, you have achieved what you need to achieve, and you feel complete, as you would feel one with the world, as some would say. So if this were to pop up, then you've completed what you need to complete. Now it's time to start the journey all over again. So there we go. That is the Fool's journey of the major arcana.
Now, people have to understand also that there is an astrological connection with the tarot cards.
Mm-hmm.
Each card has an astrological connection, and I guess it doesn't matter how long you shuffle them. It's when your mind says stop.
Right.
You know,
so it doesn't matter how you shuffle your cards. Like for me, yeah, I'll do like a traditional shuffle. Like I'll shuffle like I'm shuffling a deck of cards, and then I'll split them up into 4 piles, and then I'll put them back into the pile, shuffle 3 times, 4 more piles, shuffle 3 times, 4 more piles, shuffle. I found that way to be the best tried and true method. However, while you're shuffling, your hands, whether you realize you're doing it or not, will actually shuffle the deck either unevenly or evenly, depending upon where the cards are going to fall in the deck. No matter how you shuffle the cards, I could say, even though I took these 22 cards out of the deck, whenever I go to shuffle them again and do another reading, wherever the cards need to go, they'll fall in line. wherever they need to follow. So people will say, "Oh, you just ruined your deck by doing that. You've thrown the whole thing off." For the time being, yes. But since this was only for demonstration purposes, when I go back to shuffle them, wherever they need to go, they'll go back. Now, how it does that, I don't know. I don't know if there are other external factors or if it's all within the mind of you and your conscious and subconscious movements. That really has yet to remain a mystery.
Well, people, and I just want to remind everyone, the tarot deck consists of 78 cards, not 58. For those that are beginners, 78. Now, is Mr. Cole Thompson still with us?
Yes, Mr. Cole.
Mr. Cole Thompson, are you still with us? Going once, going twice. Are you still with us, Mr. Cole Thompson?
It all balances out to 78, so it's 22 and 56. So the 56 cards of the other deck are known as the minor arcanas. Now, these are the 4 suits that were shown in the Magician's card. The Pentacles, the Wands, the Swords, and the Cups. So those tie in more to numerology, and they're also complementers to the major arcana. Now, granted, you can only use just the major arcana for readings, but you really do yourself a disservice, just like if you were to only use the minor arcana for a reading. You would do yourself a huge disservice. The two complement each other, and the two build off of each other. And in fact, there are lots of cards in the tarot deck that have the same meaning, just presented in a much different way.
Yeah, and some of the minors represent the person you're reading. Like the page is a young male, generally, a younger male, right?
No, some decks portray the page as a young male, but for the Rider-Waite, pages are young feminine, knights are mature or young masculine, queens are mature feminine, and kings are mature masculine.
Okay.
Usually. Now, some decks do not have pages. Some decks only have the knights, queens, and kings, just like, the jack, the queen, and the king. Some don't have the page, which I think does a disservice because, there is young and mature masculine and feminine energies.
Yeah.
If you take one out of there, it's going to throw the whole thing off. And some decks actually have more than 78 cards, like the Aleister Crowley, however you want to pronounce his name. The Thoth deck has 80 cards. There's 2 additional cards in the deck.
I didn't know that.
Now, the Thoth deck is probably the hardest one to read out of all of them because Aleister Crowley and the Golden Dawn were very esoteric and were so drawn to mysticism that ultimately that it was their downfall because Aleister Crowley took the Golden Dawn in a much radical different direction than what it needed to be taken. Because later on, Aleister Crowley was infatuated with the devil, which is why, in the band that I posted in
Gemma, kid, welcome.
Hey, Gemma. Hey, Jax Teller's mother from Sons of Anarchy. Hi. But, let's see, I lost my train of thought. Where was I going? So, in the band Behemoth that I post their videos on in the Facebook page, their band is heavily based with Thelemic, which is the religion based off of Aleister Crowley and the Golden Dawn, and it makes it very abundantly clear when you watch their videos, because you see a lot of esoteric symbology in the videos, but you do see a variety of different stuff in their videos as well. Like when you watch Of Fire in the Void and At the Left Hand of God, that's when you really see just how much they are into esoteric knowledge, mysticism, and all that. And also with the left hand of God, it also shows about taking the left-hand path of spirituality, whereas compared to where most modern religion is based on the right-hand path. Well, with something like that, taking the left-hand path, it's very radically different as compared to taking the right-hand path. I mean, granted, even though I'm an agnostic atheist, I don't really believe in a lot of that stuff, but I do know a thing or two about it. It's about, rejecting God, rejecting modern religion, being much more independent, free will, and that's how they reference Satan, being the liberator, the one that makes you free, as compared to binding you to change, like the Abrahamic religions want to have you believe.
Well, it's odd. Well, it's actually very contradictory that so many people have been murdered in the name of religion.
Oh yeah.
The Roman Catholic Church. I mean, I was born and raised as a Catholic, but the popes during the Middle Ages were downright evil. They were wicked.
Mm-hmm.
And
why do you think I'm partly not religious?
the Inquisition, the torture chambers, so on and so forth. No, Thomas had to write in quatrains because he had to hide his visions and his findings from the Catholic Church.
Right.
Hide them. That's why he talked in riddles and quatrains.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
He was an alchemist too. Nostradamus was an alchemist. He treated the sick, with herbology. Fascinating man. And let's see. Gemma says, "I love a reading. Lately, I've been trying." Hold on. Let me see if it all fits here. I love a reading. Lately, I've been trying to work out my past life. Like, who was I?
Now that I really don't do a whole lot of past life, but I can take a shot at it, but I probably don't notice how well it will be. But sure, I can take a crack at it.
And, I'd like to be in my past life. I would have loved to have been Hugh Hefner's son. But anyway, Bloody Tower. Well, yeah. Welcome.
It's been a Bloody Tower 2019.
Welcome to the pirate ship, Gemma Kid.
Okay, my life has been a Bloody Tower 2019. So let me guess. Constant turmoil, always sudden drastic change.
Don't be patient. Now, realize it's okay. It's cool. We're not. We don't live by the clock here, like some people who go live stream.
Yeah, you know who you are.
That will remain nameless. Wink, wink, nod, nod.
Yeah, but he knows who he is.
He knows who he is. I call him the Clock King from Batman. My ex my ex co-host for Progressive Discussions that passed away. I did shows with him since 1995. Well, he passed away. The Reverend Dr. William J. Eisenman was also a Clock King from Batman. He's like tick 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 tick. Like his whole life was had to be scheduled according to time. And when that time, bing, he had to do it. He had to stop and. But anyway, yeah, Clock King from Batman. Adam West, the old series.
Right. So, let's see here. If you're not doing readings, it's cool. I'm OCD for some reason today about my question.
Clock King.
Well, I mean, I do readings now. Stuff for past lives. I mean, I guess if you believe in reincarnation, which I do to a point. I mean, It's not really been proven or disproven 100%. It's kind of like one of those. If you believe in it, great. If you don't believe in it, that's fine too. I mean, there's valid arguments both ways.
I got my copper divining rods. It has to be based on yes and no questions. Since Nat King Cole Thompson decided to expedite the premises, he couldn't stick around because he had to have his reading like lickety split right away. Now we have Gemma. Now, Gemma, ask something that pertains to your life, because I did these with Damien, and it was the answers were interesting. First of all, divining rods. Are you pleased with our debut show and the education by the master of the third eye, Damien? Are you pleased? Yes. Okay. Are you ready to answer questions for Gemma Kid? Yeah.
Well, I guess Mr. Cole Thompson. I can't even word. That's how bad of a day I've had. I guess I owe you a reading rain check.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next time we're on, but be patient next time. All right, Gemma, are you still with us? The official office manager for Clock King.
Well, while we're waiting on old Gemma to come back.
All right.
So the master, I'm not really a master of the third eye, considering I don't really do it in an Eastern sense, considering a lot of the third eye comes from Eastern ideologies. I do it in more of a Western sense, so.
Okay, now, the third eye, they strongly feel is the hypothalamus gland.
It is.
Okay, now, hold on. Gemma's.
But it literally is an invisible third eye that you can't see.
Yes, and what's his name? Nikola Tesla got most of his information in dreams while he was asleep, possibly extraterrestrial communication. Okay, Gemma, go. Say something. I mean, ask something. Because I got these things warmed up, and they look pretty warm to me. Holy crap. Relax, copper divining rods. Gemma is going to type something.
Even they get antsy. Wow.
Yeah, look at the thing is moving without any questions. Clock King.
They look like antlers, to be honest, like little antennas, receivers, like on the front of ants. Not that's an insult, just saying what it resembles.
I like invertebrates. I mean, I'm a collector of invertebrates. I have pet invertebrates.
Yeah, I don't know. That one was kind of like, you're crossing some waters there. Better back off while you got a chance.
Yeah. All right, let me wait. Okay. Oh, here we go. You got a boyfriend. Okay.
Is Jason my true love?
Gemma Kid asks, is Jason my true love? No.
I would kind of count that one as a.
Let me ask again.
Yeah, try it again, because I don't think it would.
Maybe there's like too many voices from different directions. All right, let's try it again. Gemma Kid has a question. Is Jason her true love?
No. Yeah, that's a no.
That's a no. When it goes away from each other.
It thought for a moment,
Gemma, but men are us men say women are very complex. Well, some men are complex too. I think not the guys I know. They're easy to predict.
And a few of them in the alpha males chat. Just saying.
Yeah, but that's another talk show. Alpha males chat group.
Right.
Life is tough for men. Well, life is tough for couples. Period. Because it's not like it's really tough.
Okay. Well.
Okay. All right. If Gemma has any other questions, feel free. If Cole Thompson comes back, feel free. Okay. Now, a question from Damien.
Okay. Let's see here. All right, divining rods. So let's see if your answer is still yes. This will be a question I've asked previously.
Okay.
So if what you're saying is true from my last question, will I still get my old job back and go back within a month?
Yeah.
All right, now let's see here. I'm going to get a little more detail. Okay. So should I call my old supervisor on Monday to see if an exception is going to be made for me to come back to my old job?
No.
Okay. Should I call that week? Should I call next week sometime?
Yes.
Okay, so not Monday, Tuesday?
Yeah. I don't even.
Tuesday.
I don't have to position these from the starting point. It does it on its own. Oh, Gemini,
Okay, let's see here. Tuesday, okay? Give me.
nail on the head. Um. Yeah.
All
Well.
right. All right, well, let's go one step further. Should
Okay.
I call in the morning?
No.
Okay, should I call midday, like around 10, 11 o'clock?
I like the way you're narrowing the questions down. That's good.
Okay, after lunchtime, which would be after 12 o'clock but before 3 o'clock.
Yeah. When
Hmm.
he's got his belly full and he's got all the carbs and his blood sugar is up and he's happy. Yeah. That's the question.
Oh,
Gemini,
yes,
we hit the nail on the head.
and I'm wearing the Golden Girls t-shirt.
The Golden Girls t-shirt. I'm glad that we are of some Saturday night amusement because
I mean,
normally I don't stay home on Saturday. I'm out.
Yeah.
I go to the clubs. I'm out, man.
I mean, granted, yes, it is a pink shirt, and I wore a pink shirt to school one time, and where I went to school in Virginia was a little small town where they were very closed-minded, bigoted individuals. So one day I wore a pink shirt, and yeah, I got poked fun of and called gay and faggot and all that, until one day I took it to a t-shirt shop and put an interesting saying on the shirt. And then from there, I was no longer bothered. They decided to leave me alone. So the next day, when I decided to wear my pink shirt, yeah, they were poking fun at me, laughing at me until they read what was on my shirt. And it said, "Yeah, keep laughing. This is your girlfriend's shirt." Was never bothered again after that.
I've seen some really great shirts that are very controversial.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, well, actually, the controversial T-shirts that women wear, they don't wear it like necessarily in public. They wear it for like Facebook or something, for a Facebook photo or
Yeah.
Instagram or something. Yeah, because
I mean, it doesn't bother me to wear a pink shirt because you want to know something? If you see a guy wearing a pink shirt, that just shows you he's secure enough in his manhood, and he's also in touch with his masculine as well as feminine side. So when you're in touch with both sides like that, you're very secure. And when you see someone who is secure, I love seeing it. It doesn't bother me. But for people who are insecure, seeing someone who is secure, it's just like a bunch of alarms go in their head. They can't grasp it. It's like, does not compute, does not compute.
Yeah, well, I always love magenta. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's the brightest, most intense pink that there is. I used to think fuchsia. I'm sorry, fuchsia. I used to think fuchsia was intense, but no, magenta is more intense. What do you think? Is magenta more intense, divining rods? Yeah, okay. Now, do you divining rods? We'll get a little political. Do you think that insane idea of an all-gender restroom is just totally nuts? Yeah, me too. It's that's an invitation to every pervert and sleazebag there is.
Well, I mean, I've thought about this, and
But
I'm just trying to think.
how do you walk up to a urinal with girls coming in? I mean, it's like.
Well, it's not necessarily the whole issue. It's just, when you're in a bathroom, I don't know about you, but I like peace, quiet, and privacy.
I like to relax, like the Fonz. That was his office on Happy Days.
Uh-huh. So when you're in a bathroom,
Man cave.
I mean, I love going to the bathroom. In fact,
Oh,
if I ever have to go to a public bathroom, which,
right.
I have gone to some good public bathrooms, don't get me wrong, but I've gone to some public bathrooms where I'm just like, I'd rather risk getting a kidney infection than going to take a dump or take a piss in this urinal.
You know what the worst public bathroom is? A rest stop, or even worse, a gas station.
Mm, Not necessarily, because, like, there's a rest stop here on I-81. Because if you're on I-81 and you're either coming into Tennessee from the Virginia side or you're going into Virginia from the Tennessee side, there's rest stops on both sides of the interstate, and they're welcome centers. I mean, I've been to both.
Oh, those are nice because
Yeah, those are nice.
they're family-oriented rest stops.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, folks, I'm from northeastern New Jersey, right? I'm right on the Hudson River, across from New York City. And
Yeah.
Damien is originally from Virginia, now residing in Tennessee.
Oh, yeah. And I will tell you, I love living in Tennessee. I would not want to move back to Virginia, especially with all the insanity that's going on up there.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I got my drum, a little mystical.
Not to get too political, but let's just say Virginia now has gone so blue, it might as well be called East California now.
Yeah, I've been, well, as lovely as San Diego is when I was there.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I thought it was a beautiful area. It was very, Baja, northern Baja, and San Diego was very relaxing. I mean, I love the dry heat. There's no mosquitoes, but it's a different culture. It's a different part of the country. Just like you're going to Tennessee from the Northeast.
Well, it depends on which part of Tennessee you live in. Well, I live in the northeastern part of Tennessee, right there in that little northeastern corner, right next to Virginia. And Virginia's about a 20-minute drive. And if I want to go to North Carolina, it's about, I want to say, about 45 minutes. Because when you're on I-81, which there's two interstates that, well, no, three interstates that actually meet here in Northeast Tennessee. So you've got I-81, which comes in from Virginia, and it transitions to I-40 just above Knoxville. And I-40 will take you across all the way to Memphis. It'll take you through Arkansas, that little top part of Texas, Oklahoma, New Mexico, Arizona, all the way out to California.
Okay. Now, getting back to the theme of the show. Now, if Emma Kidd is still with us, is there like a real mini short reading that might be targeted towards her romantic aspirations, her situation?
Actually, even though she's not here presently, I can still ask. So let me go ahead and get the rest of my cards out of my box. So I will go ahead and put these cards on the bottom. It won't matter because eventually, wherever they need to fall, they'll get their way shuffled back into the deck. So I will use my book as a platform.
Okay.
Probably for tax time, I'm going to try to get a tablet as well as a little mini table, so I'm not constricted right here to my computer with my webcam.
Now, Gemma Kidd, are you still with us?
So here's what I can do. I can't necessarily do a past life, but I could definitely do something of the present. So your divining rod, say, Jason, is not her love, her true love.
Okay. So
we'll see. So far, the tarot and the divining rods have been correct with me so far. So let's take a shot. So let's see here. All right. So here's how I do a reading. There's not really a right or wrong way to do it. So here's what I do. So I will take the cards out unshuffled. I found if you shuffle the cards beforehand and then ask your question, it throws it off. So what we'll do is we'll take it the way that I had it. I just put the major arcana under the bottom. And let's see here. Well, the divining rods say no, Gemma, but let's see here with the tarot. So with the tarot, with the reading I can do, it will show if he is and why, and if he isn't, why.
Yeah. No, I just brought that up so you can see her photo and this man, you know, like her name. So her maybe her energy, even though she's remotely somewhere in the country, it'll flow into your.
Okay. Well, let's see. I mean, we can still pose it as a question, but let's see here. So back to what I was saying. If you pre-shuffle the cards before you ask your question, I find it throws it off. So we'll do it this way. I put the major arcana back under here, underneath the deck. So now here's what we're going to do. You place your 4 fingers and your thumb on top of the cards like this, and you brace it with your hand. So you think about your question, and whoever else the question is going to be for, you can put on there as well. So if I'm doing the reading for someone else, I'll put my 4 fingers and my thumb on this end, have someone else do it. Then you ask the question. So let's see here. Tarot, I come to you to seek knowledge and answers. Please give me the correct and accurate answers from your wisdom. Is Jason Gemma's true love? So next, you'll notice I'm shuffling the deck in a very particular way.
Yeah, because you have to combine the major and the minor arcana.
Well, my hands will actually shuffle the deck in a very specific way. And I honestly do not know how or why it does it. But I'm getting a feeling I'm going to have to do quite a bit of shuffling on this one.
You're shuffling corner to corner on a diagonal, right? Pretty much.
Right. All right. And then my 4 piles. So there we go. I've got my 4th pile here, 4th on the 2nd, then the 1st on the bottom, and then the 4th on the bottom. And I'm doing this, I'm not questioning it, I'm just going with the motions. Okay, so now one more.
I want to give, as you're shuffling, I want to give a shout out to my administrator, Sam Hunt, who is a Reiki practitioner or utilizing crystals. And she is our astrology person, our go-to astrological expert, enthusiast, okay, on the Mysticism page. So go there, click like New Age Mysticism and Healing on Facebook, and you'll see quite a bit of information, even though it's a relatively new Facebook page.
All right.
Existing.
Well, now the cards have shuffled. Well, at least we know what isn't going to be in the deck, the Knight of Cups. It's way here at the bottom. So we'll see. All right. So I'm going to do just a very simple 4-card spread. It's going to be past, present, future, outcome. Now, depending upon if I want more information, I will draw 3 additional cards as connector cards from the past to the present. Let's see, yeah, the past to the present, into the present to the future, and then the card that represents her. Hi, Wyatt. I'm doing a tarot reading, buddy.
I can't find the other train card.
You can't find the other train card? It was in your room.
I can't find it anywhere.
Well, I'll help you find it. It was in your room last time I saw it.
Yeah,
So let's go in there.
If Gemma Kid is back, he's doing a targeted tarot card, a short tarot card reading for 10.
All right. So let's see here. We've got
for
we've
it.
got the Nine of Cups for the past. We've got the Four of Swords for the present. We've got the Temperance for the future. And we've got the Ace of Cups for the outcome. Now, this is a very interesting reading for several reasons. For one, since this is a very specific question, it also does shed some insight on him. So let's see here.
Show each card in front of the camera.
I will. Just I'm kind of just looking them over and just doing just a quick reading to see if there's anything I might be missing or if there's anything that's going to come to the forefront. So it'll take me just a moment. But I can talk out my thoughts and we can go from there. Okay. So we have our first card, which is the Nine of Cups. Now, you'll notice that it's the number 9 of a court card. So anytime a number 9 comes in, it's nearing completion, meaning you've kept your emotions in check, meaning you've not gone too emotional, too unemotional, and you're coming to the end of an emotional cycle or on your emotional journey achieving what you want to achieve. Well, in this instance, it's love. So, from what I can tell, this is a very great start. However, when we go to the Four of Swords, this is where things are going to get a little interesting. So, anytime a 4 comes up, this is when you begin your journey and you've made progress and you're almost to your midway point. Because a 5 is your midway point, a 4 is just short of your midway point. Now, you'll notice that there has been some lying in wait, because we do have the one sword down here, which would be her symbolic sword, but we've got 3 others up here on the wall. Now, in a love reading, this could be a lot of, lying awake at night or questioning particular motives. It's when you're in your dream state when sometimes things can become much more clear or they become much more muddied. So we've got some pondering going on here as a result of the Divine Rods and now my reading. So interesting. Awesome! You found your train car. I'm doing a reading on it, so let's go back in there, okay, buddy?
Okay.
Yep, shut the door, please. Alright, so yeah, this was probably triggered by the Divine Rods, maybe some questioning before she asked the Divine Rods. I'm not completely sure. But, I will say that the Divine Rods seem like they know what they're talking about, because now we've gotten to Temperance. And when we've got this as a future, usually this means that we're going to be taking a different path. Or it's a pause and reflect time before we take another path. So far it's not looking good for Jason being her true love, but I do see someone new coming into the picture because we have the Ace of Cups.
A new beginning.
Yep, a new emotional beginning.
Yes,
so, now that we've gotten at least an established reading, let's draw 2 more cards. So, this card is going to be representing her, and this next card is going to be representing him. So, now, let's see who we draw for the card to represent her. And, ooh, just as I thought, the 6 of Swords. Now, this is after a midway point. Now we're beginning to pick up our journey to fast track to the end. Anytime that this has popped up, I can see why she said her life at least for this year, has been nothing but a Bloody Tower 2019. We have travel with our conflicted past, but we're setting off after our midway point. So we're setting off eventually to a new emotional beginning. So let's see as to who her next emotional lover will be. Ooh, now this is interesting. We have the Emperor for the card that is going to be representing her new lover. So with the Emperor, he's going to be very mature. I assume he's definitely going to be either around your age group or older. He may be a father himself, or a stepfather, or a father figure to somebody, possibly a mentor, or someone who is considered like a father figure of a workplace. So I would be on the lookout for someone like this. So if you see somebody in your life now or that will be coming into your life, be on the lookout for him, because he will be your new emotional beginning. But there's more information that we can actually draw on him now that we've gotten some information about him. So now we've got a card that represents him. We can see a little bit of his past as well as his present and his future. Ooh. Now here's where things are going to be taking a very interesting turn. So his past is a lot like yours with the Ten of Swords. So he's had to do a lot of fighting, and the fighting has taken its toll on him to the point to where he's at this point saying, fuck it. And right now, his life is currently in turmoil due to the Five of Wands. When a 5 pops up, it's a midway. And whenever a 10 shows up, it's an ending of something. Well, a 5 is a midway. So with this 5 showing up, he's in the middle of some major conflict, particularly of what he wants. So this is more of a internal conflict rather than external conflict. And it's probably not going to be anytime soon when he comes into your life, because we have another 5 here, a 5 of Pentacles. So now we've gone from an internal problem to an external problem. But in this instance, it's going to be in terms of monetary conflict, of wealth. So he could be going through a divorce, he could be going through a nasty relationship, or he could be on hard financial times. So one more card that we can do to see as to when these two will meet. Okay. So this will give me a little bit of a time estimate as to when he will be showing up in her life. But it's not going to be for a very, very good while. We've got the 8 of Pentacles. Now, whenever an 8 shows up, this is when it's time for seeing what's already manifested, and also to keep creating so more can manifest. Now, in terms of predictive time, Pentacles, with them being the Earth symbol, they're the slowest out of all of the suits as well as the elements. So, looks like either 8 seasons, meaning 4 years, or no, 8 seasons being 2 years, or not for another 8 years. Because usually Pentacles are seasons or years, so it's not going to be anytime soon.
Outstanding reading, much better outcome. I mean, as far as detail, excellent detail in this reading.
Okay.
within the next 3 months.
Well, my wife had as a question for the divine rods, but what was it you had
All
said?
right. All right, no
Oh,
problem.
what was it you had said about my reading?
No, it was the debut show is going much better than I anticipated, and your reading was much more detailed and in depth than I thought it was going to be. This is big. I mean, this is
Right.
a great show. All right, what is your question?
All right, baby, you got the divine rods up.
Every wife this one doesn't hear me,
Okay.
and I'm going to get pregnant within the next 3 months.
All right, now this is one my wife really didn't want to make too public, so she wanted me to ask this question quietly.
Okay.
So, will my wife be getting pregnant within the next 3 months?
3 months. Says yes.
Really?
Mm-hmm. All right, let's
Takes
see.
that long?
Well, there's some issues going on health-wise that are kind of putting a damper on that. That's why. But now that we've gotten a grasp on the issue,
Not a diaper, a damper.
well, yeah, a damper. But now that we've gotten the issues brought forth, and now we know how to fix the issues, that's why she's asking, because now she's getting on the track to fix her problems.
Well, a good friend of mine who was a WWE superstar wrestler, as well as many other things, a competitive bodybuilder, Ken Thiessen. There was a time when he was trying to get his, wife pregnant. Or maybe I shouldn't have mentioned his name. Anyway, he took an herb that is extremely beneficial for men called stinging nettles, and lo and behold, it worked. Everything skyrocketed, and his wife got pregnant quickly, and his free testosterone skyrocketed, and everything is hunky dory after.
Okay, excellent. Well, let's see here. Will it be a boy or a girl?
There you go.
Okay, let's see. Will it be a boy?
Yeah.
Will it be a girl?
No. So
Well,
you have a house full of boys, then I guess.
yeah. So if that's the case, then there will be I will carry on my real name, and he'll be the third.
The third.
Mm-hmm.
Like the third eye. The third.
Mm-hmm. Right. So, yes, as you can tell, as long as you do a little bit of practice and a little intuition, it's not hard to read the cards.
And they're interconnected. They flow into one another according to proximity.
Mm-hmm.
Now, divining rods, are you pleased with the start of the Facebook page, New Age Mysticism and Healing? Okay, good. Now, let's see.
Anyway, can you go back in your room? You can come back in here a little bit. Just don't make too much noise. Well, go ahead.
Now, it's the word scrying, which I would sometimes they connect it, they classify crystal ball reading with scrying. Sometimes they use what Nostradamus did. He looked into a bowl of water. Are these pretty much synonymous? The crystal ball reading and seeing visions in water under dim lighting? Yes. Okay. Yeah. Now, the scrying instructions recommended natural substances like a wooden bowl with water and a piece of rock crystal in the center. You recommend this setup? Okay. That was a quick yes.
Well,
yeah, mentioned a candle on each side.
But let's see here. So I've really been wanting to have a daughter first. Okay, so a boy. Will there be a second, or it would be technically my second child, but her third born. Will there be a third child, Divine Rods?
Would there be a third child for Mr. Owens?
Okay, so there would be a third born.
Are there certain methods that a couple can use to increase gender chance, just like when you incubate reptile eggs, the temperature has a lot to do with the gender outcome. Are there ways of increasing the odds of going male or female? Oh, there are?
All right, well,
Opposite.
will the third born, my second born, be a girl?
Would his second born be a girl? Mr. Owens' second born? No.
No.
Wait.
Will I ever have a daughter?
No.
Well, it just showed yes.
Wait. Oh, yes. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right. It said yes.
Okay. Okay. So 2 boys, but when will it be my third born, her fourth born to be a girl?
Well, you're gonna have a heap and helping of children. Yes.
Well, seriously? So there would be a fourth child.
Holy mackerel.
But will it be with twins?
Would the girl come with twins?
Like a fraternal or identical? No way.
Saying, yeah, that's trying to guess something like that is a long shot.
Well, let's see here. Will the twins be identical?
Identical, like the Olsen twins?
So identical, but one boy, one girl?
Huh.
No way.
One boy and one girl?
Okay, how far down the road will that be? 10 years?
Wait a minute. You got the poor woman is 10 years?
Well, I mean, like 10 years on down the road.
Yeah, I know, but you know, it gets a little rougher the older a woman gets.
Okay, so then 10 years.
So you're saying 10 years, a decade before the daughter is born.
So that'd mean I'd be 30, we'd both be 35.
Wow, it's not, well, yeah, I wouldn't, yeah, it's not old, but you're pushing it.
Okay, well, all right, well, let's see here. This is when we will combine mysticism and science. So, let's put this to the test. Will they be natural or will they be test tube?
Would they be?
Will they be natural?
Would they be natural birth? Oh, science! I gotta love science.
Okay, test tube.
Test tube babies? Really? Well, my favorite.
Ooh.
Wait, is that the same as cloning? Because cloning is cool.
No, it's a new form of breeding where they take an egg, they extract an egg, and they extract a sperm cell, and they put the two of them together, and then once the two meet and the egg fertilizes, then they create a synthetic embryo similar to, or they create a synthetic womb, much like the mother's, in a lab and watch it develop from conception to final product.
So they take the spermatozoon, which I believe is the word for one sperm, Wow, this is really cool. There's a clinic in South Korea that does all that stuff, including growing organs for people that need a donor, that are on a waiting list for donated organs. They grow it from you, so you don't have to take anti-rejection drugs. They're already doing it. It's fascinating.
So the boy and the girl would be test tube. Now my two sons, would they be natural? Okay, so the two sons would be natural.
Two sons would be natural. The girl would be test.
Well, the boy and the girl.
The boy and the girl would be test tube. What is it, like an aquarium, or what does it look like? The artificial?
Well, they do the extraction in the test tube. So once they see that the egg and the sperm fertilize and there is conception, then it creates that early zygote. Then from there, they watch it develop until it gets too big for that test tube. Then they move it into the synthetic placenta. And then from there, they do feed it nutrients through an umbilical cord, similar to like being connected to the mother, but it would be, all natural, and it would have all the building blocks they would need to make sure by the end of 36 to 40 weeks that the baby would reach full term, or the zygote would then turn into the fetus, and the fetus would reach full term. And then once it reaches full term, then it would be ready to be born. And then once the umbilical cord is cut and it takes its first breath, then it's born.
You know what? I know that technology, science is advancing at a mega speed, warp speed, at a miraculously fast rate, and I was always fascinated by this subject, and I don't care what these right-wing evangelical religious freaks, these fanatics. Right now we're being we're being heckled, so to speak. In the old days, we used to call it heckling. We're being trolled by, this is the second alias used by a person who I believe is Red Rooster. See all the crap that he's saying now. So I have to block this guy because he's a punk. He's the funniest looking bastard you ever see in your life. He uses a Rhode Island red chicken photo in his profile, and he has a bunch of lemmings doing his bidding, and he's part of a group of beta men, not red pill men, beta men, not alpha men, called Honest Crap Beer Reviews, founded by John Stara Dumpster Fire, Dumpster Ski, and yeah, right, sure. I'll wring his neck. And make soup out of him. We had a big fight over Velveeta and Cheese Whiz because his head looks like a can of Cheese Whiz. If you ever see his picture, which Mr. Dave Coulter, Professor Dave Coulter, showed me what he really looks like.
Oh, Dr. Dave. Oh, good old Dr. Dave.
Here's Red Rooster. And here's my fist. Hey, bring it. Northeastern New Jersey. You're from Rhode Island. Bring it on. Bring it on. I wouldn't even have to use my right hook. All I have to do is give you like a half a dozen lightning fast jabs. You're a punk. I don't care if you're in the Marines. I don't care if you have a federal job. Let me tell you something. Mr. Ronald J. Theriot knows exactly where you work. He knows where you live in Virginia. You have a federal job. He can get your ass fired. And I don't think your supervisors would be happy that you're trolling people. You're a punk. You know what you need? You need your face bashed in. That's what you need. Well, bring it on. Bring it on.
Well, I mean, good old Dr. Dave. Just
Good
oh
old Dr.
man.
Dave, show me how ugly this person is.
Just oh man, good old Dr. Dave.
Well, I said what I had to say. He's a punk. He's been hacking and trolling everybody. He's a control freak.
Well, hang on. Okay, so he's been hacking and he's been trolling. As long as he hasn't crossed certain lines, there's not really much they can do. However,
yeah, but
if there's one line he has crossed and it can be proven, then he will have crossed the line at this point.
He takes photos of people's family.
Okay, so he takes photos of families, but does he release any of their information?
No, he does not.
Okay, so if he were to go that extra step, besides releasing a photo, that technically would be considered doxing.
Okay, yeah, because he worked for Homeland Security. Now he's probably a janitor. He probably has latrine duty, because that's all he's worth. And yeah, he was Border Patrol, probably harassing brown-skinned people like any other Republican, because I believe he is a right winger. And this is his second alias that he came on the show with. See, now he's got another alias. So you're a punk. You're a control freak. Why don't you ever show your ugly face in person and have a good old-fashioned street fight? Why don't you do that? You piece of crap. You piece of Trump 2020. I knew it. Him and that Star Dumpster Ski that controls honest crap beer reviews, and they have Tom Mulvihill. He's bullying. I know, you punk. You're bullying Tom Mulvihill, the beer and whiskey whisperer, keeping him from going on our shows. You're a punk. If I was him, I would quit your stupid, lame ass, effeminate beer group.
Oh man.
Yeah, I look weak. Yeah, I look weak. That's because you only see a headshot, you punk. All right, let me get rid of this guy. It comes with the territory. When you're on social media, folks, and sometimes you meet somebody like this. Anyway,
as I was saying, doxing. So there's been times where people have been bullies to me online, especially in video games. Like I had this one guy who, whenever I was playing and he would die, and we were playing an objective-based game, he would give my location to the enemy team for me to die. And I told him to stop, and if he didn't, I was going to dox him.
Okay.
And he said, "You just threatened to dox me." I'm like, well, technically what you're doing can be construed as cyberbullying, so you want to stop this, then I won't dox you. Pure and simple.
See, he intimidates people like Tom Overhill. He intimidates everyone because for some reason they feel it's important to be a part of that honest craft beer review. It's only a lame Facebook group. That's all it is. It's not a website. I don't even think they do live stream shows, to be honest with you.
Yeah, well.
They're a bunch of punks. But anyway, that tarot reading was top of the line. Your educational explanation of the major arcana was fantastic. The questions, now, evidently, I don't know if anyone else is with us. I don't know because nobody has commented yet, but the show is being recorded, and the red-feathered bird has been exposed, including his cheese whiz Velveeta head stupid Facebook beer group.
I'm just thinking, why in the hell would you get him to fight over freaking cheese whiz?
You know why I had an argument over? Because he says cheese whiz and Velveeta is fantastic. It's great. I simply told him it's processed like cheese, like food. It's processed.
What isn't processed anymore?
Well, if you went to the deli and you got let's say a pound of Switzerland Swiss Emmentaler, let's say.
Mhm.
Now you're talking about real cheese versus Velveeta, Cheese Whiz, American. I hate to say it, it's called American cheese. American cheese is it's not old world created cheese.
Hmm.
It's like if somebody ate cheese doodles watching television.
I love cheese doodles. They'll be making fun of my cheese doodles now.
Yeah, no, I mean, but they call it cheese doodles. Well, all right, let's take fast food cheesesteak sandwich. I'm sure they have,
Oh! Now we're hitting home. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love fast food. I love all kinds of different food.
like
But
Arby's. Do they use real cheese at Arby's on their?
yeah, I mean, there's not really a lot of fast food places that I don't like. But my personal favorite is Taco Bell. I love Taco Bell.
I love Mexican food. I love tacos. I love it all anything.
Hmm.
But if you're gonna put cheese on, let's say French onion soup is supposed to have I think Gruyere cheese melted, but they
Hmm.
do mozzarella, they do, whatever. You can use whatever cheese you like. Philly cheesesteak sandwiches, I've had them with mozzarella. I've had them with Swiss, but not American. But I've had them with other cheeses, and it was great. Quesadillas.
Right.
And
Yeah, I love quesadillas.
now there's a Mexican cheese called, I think, Blanco Fresco or something. It's
Yeah.
I think that's what it is.
It's usually the white cheese dip that you get when you go to the Mexican restaurants, and they give you the chips and salsa, and you order this to go with it. It's usually what it is.
Yeah, it's a easy melting cheese like mozzarella. Oh,
Mhm.
there he is again. Here he is again. See all the aliases. This punk. This punk has so much time in his hands. Do you do any work, by the way, for the federal government? Do you actually work, or do you jerk off in a men's room? You play with yourself in the men's room?
Well, if he does, more power to him. We're not going to judge.
Hey, dude, I don't support centrist, moderate Democrats like Joe Biden and Elizabeth Warren and Amy Klobuchar. I support
Whoa,
Bernie
wait.
Sanders, Democratic Socialist. So get that through you.
Well, hang on. Wait, Joe Biden is a centrist Democrat? I mean, to be honest, in a lot of ways, he acts more like Republicans than Republicans themselves
He's even
sometimes.
worse. Oh, he doesn't want universal health care. I know that. He wants insurance companies to thrive. Now, wouldn't it be great if Red Rooster worked for an insurance company and he became unemployed? No, Democrats
Well,
are corporate whores, sir. Okay.
yeah, they're both just about the same. But yeah, I mean, I love fast food, but here's the one thing I did notice. So, yes, I used to eat a lot of fast food and still do to a certain extent. And I used to eat lots of junk food and still do to a certain extent. I mean, I love good and bad food. If it's good for you, I'll eat it. And if it's bad for me, I'm probably going to eat it. Bernie is a commie.
Good. I'm a commie too. I'm proud of it. Hey, wait a minute. He's using Mario's photo. Wait until I tell Mario. Oh my God! Look at it. Mario.
Bernie, I don't really consider Bernie Sanders to be a communist.
No. I like. You know what I like? I like to see the 98% get taken care of, and I like to see the top 2% pay most of the tax.
Whenever you're ready.
Let me finish making my bed.
All right, well, I'm probably going to head off here in a minute because I got a few more things I got to do around the house. But in all honesty, I just don't see why he would call Bernie Sanders a communist, considering he isn't one.
No, he's like he's a democratic socialist. He's not a commie. Anyway, are these aliases that have been trying to sabotage the show because the guy's too chicken to meet me face to face? Is this Red Rooster in reality, the ugly punk? Yes.
Oh.
It is Red Rooster. You punk. When are you gonna come to northeastern Bergen County? When are you gonna come, you punk?
Well, last thing, and then we'll go ahead and I guess we'll call it night because we can still have our show for tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night we're going to do politics, and guess what?
What?
We're going to bash capitalism. We're going to bash capitalism and all them flag wavers, and we're going to tell them.
Yeah.
We're going to.
Yeah, it'll just have to be just a little bit later at night because we're going to be doing something throughout the day for that one. But the last thing, I know you were talking about processed foods and you don't eat them. That's fine. More power to you. And I know you don't like macro just because they're filled with preservatives and they're processed. I'm like, okay, well, that's fine. More power to you. But here's the big thing I've noticed.
Yeah.
Getting back to when I told you, I ate a lot of junk food. I still eat junk food, but not as much as I used to. And I used to eat a lot of bad food, still do, but not as much as I used to. I found that when you do have a much more balanced diet, it doesn't really matter if you eat processed or unprocessed foods. If there is a difference, I've really yet to notice. Because, yes, I've ate organic food before, and I've ate, like, true organic, non-GMO, all of that. To be honest,
Yeah.
most of the time, and I've got pretty good taste buds, I can't really taste a difference that justifies the huge price increase.
Oh no, it's definitely a racket. And how do we really know? Well, actually, some major companies have. Someone brought nutritional supplements to a lab.
Mm-hmm.
And they were guilty of fraud. What was on the label was not in the bottle. What was on the label was not in the bottle with a whole bunch of retail chains. And you got to keep your fiber up because when John Wayne died, they found over 40 pounds of impacted fecal matter when they did the autopsy. So you got to keep that fiber up. And your colon's got to be cleansed.
Well, I mean, I do take a little something like that, but if you overdo it, I found that it can have some very adverse side effects, especially with your digestion. You take too much magnesium.
Oh, no, you can't. That's dangerous if you take over 500 milligrams. I heard.
I've read no more than 1,000, but this is considered high potency, which is 400 milligrams. But most time, if I need roughage, I'll just eat a salad or eat a big bowl of corn or green beans.
Or Metamucil.
Nah, corn, green beans, and salads do better. I do take this, a Centrum Men Adult.
Yeah.
And you see what it's got. It's got energy, metabolism, immunity, and whole health and body. Yeah. So,
well, right now I'm taking the Trader Joe's men's vitamin. Then there's one called Alive by Nature's Way that you can buy everywhere. Everybody sells it. Oh, this is good stuff.
Right.
Quiet.
Yeah, the biggest thing I've noticed is, just eating a much more well-balanced, moderated diet. It's done much better for me than doing that. Because, like I said, I've ate organic, certified non-organic, non-GMO, all that.
Yeah.
I don't really taste the difference. And flavor-wise, it's the same to me. Texture-wise, it's the same. So I never really buy organic just because of the price. And for me, I really can't taste the difference. I really honestly cannot.
Well, I won't pay high prices for any organic non-GMO. Trader Joe's has good prices on theirs. All these, if you have it, all these has a Whole Foods, kind of pricey, but they have a bulk section where you shovel your own into the bag and you get the PLU code and
Yeah, to me, it seems like it really just doesn't matter whether you eat processed, non-processed, organic, non-organic. It really, in all honesty, overall doesn't really do anything. At least for me, it didn't.
Well, I'm certainly glad I exposed the most famous troll of all times on this show. I exposed exactly what he is, what he is part of, and you gave the name. You gave the name. Yeah, sure. You gave the name of what he does, and I told everyone who he works for, where he lives, where he works. Ronald J. Theriot knows the exact address, so I'm very happy to expose all this information just so it gets under his skin and aggravates him.
Well, it's not hard to look up somebody on the internet. It really, in all honesty, is not.
Yeah, well, you got to have his real name first.
Well, you can just do real name. Now, if you want to get even more technical, which I'm going to be going here in a moment, there is another place you can go, but I highly recommend you don't go there because you never know who's going to be on the other end of that computer monitor, the deep or dark web.
Oh, my brother-in-law explained about the deep dark web.
Yeah, don't go there unless you know what you're doing, because you honestly do not know who you're talking to on the other end, and it's not tracked, it's not traced, and as soon as law enforcement or hackers that work for law enforcement come up with one site, like 10 more show up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, it's definitely, you have to know exactly what you're doing. And you know what I like to get into? There's a way to purchase securities like penny stocks and to make money off the stock market by buying very low, I guess, doing research on the company and buying very, very inexpensive penny stocks, and then don't keep them too long. As soon as they go up a bit, sell it and continue the process. I hear people have my ex supervisor made good money off it. My brother-in-law made good money off it. It's a way of sitting on your ass and making money at home from your computer.
You don't need this?
All right. But yeah, they got a few bills and stuff they got to take care of, so I guess we can go ahead and wrap up this show. And if there's anything else, we can pick it up for tomorrow night.
No, just do all your family stuff tomorrow. Get it out of the way, and then we'll set up a time.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah, there's no sense. I might as well block this joker. He's a punk. That's all. Let me block him, and then
Okay.
All right, that's it. All right, thank you, folks. If this troll appears again tomorrow and in the future, I will keep on.
Target probably be more expensive at Target.
All right.
All right, I gotta go. All right.
All right.
Good night, everybody.
All right. Good night.
Good night.